Hey there, and welcome back to Totally Normal. It's Sarah Gale here, and I want to share with you what happened this morning. Today, I had my entire day planned out, like hour by hour, when I was going to take breaks, when I was going to do projects, when I was going to do lunch, all of it. I planned out beautifully from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. because I'm in Spain, y'all. So I get a little bit later start to the day. And the reason why everything got thrown off today was because my long-awaited custom keyboard was finally out for delivery. Not shipped. It had been shipped for a while. Out for delivery. So in any moment, it could have arrived. Doorbell could have rung. Okay, so as soon as the email showed up on my phone, my brain locked up in a classic executive dysfunction. But here's the twist. Because I know I have ADHD, I didn't beat myself up. I adjusted. I flexed. I survived the day without too much negative self-talk. There were a couple thoughts that I had to push away quickly, but today we are going to talk about what neurodivergence is, what ADHD is, why society will often treat neurodivergence as a disability, and how turning to Indigenous wisdom changed my view of being different, including the Māori concept of Takiwātanga, which means in their own space and time. So that reframed everything for me. Everything. And we'll also do a few practical takeaways for when your brain freezes and your plans get thrown off or vanish completely. Because neurodivergent or not, being human is totally normal. So first, let's define neurodiversity or neurodivergence. Okay, and this is for people who are. Did you see that fly in the background? There's a fly in here. Okay, this is for people who are neurodivergent or who think they are neurodivergent or who lead anybody. Hey, so if you're a manager, if you're an executive, if you're a CEO, anybody, if you're a parent, a friend, I don't know, someone just existing, you have to lead yourself. So this podcast is for everybody. This episode is for everybody. I need you to hear me on this. The term neurodiversity describes the idea that people experience and interact with the world in many different ways. There's no one right way of thinking, learning, and behaving. Neurodivergent simply refers to someone whose brain works in a way that's not expected or typical. It's just different. For me, my neurodivergent experience leans heavily towards ADHD. There are two types, or three types actually, of ADHD. There's inattentive type, which is me, where I could be sitting on a couch, look like I'm just vegged out doing nothing, and internally it is like chaos. It's like I have too many tabs open. I don't know which one's playing music. It's spinning, but on the outside it's like I'm just scrolling my phone, so that is the inattentive type. And then there is the hyperactive type, where you can see it on the outside. Someone needs to get a lot of energy out. They need a lot of tactile stimulation to keep their brain comfortable. And then there's the combination, which is really challenging because you kind of switch back and forth, and they're two very different ways of experiencing ADHD that people have simultaneously. So shout out to my combined folks out there. I know days get rough sometimes. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition that affects parts of the brain involved in planning, prioritizing, focus, and executing tasks. So executive function. It's genetic. This means that your child is born with certain gene changes that cause differences in their brain development. And when I'm saying things like neurodevelopmental or brain development, I'm not talking about them being underdeveloped. It's just how. So I need you to remember, in neurodivergence, in anything labeled as a disability, so much of it isn't in good, bad, capable, incapable. It's in the how. How does this person approach life? How do they experience life? How do we need to accommodate them to make sure that they're able to exist with the rest of us in a way that's not totally uncomfortable or impossible for them to achieve their goals and be in our communities? ADHD is considered neurodivergence because it changes how you think and how you process information. This is why it's often viewed as a disability, because the differences in brain function can create measurable barriers in society. Education systems, workplaces, timed tasks, focus demands. When every environment demands a neurotypical way, the difference becomes disabling. Had things been built differently, or were things able to adjust and not be so rigid, it wouldn't be a disability. But because of the way neurodivergent people think and the way that the systems were built, hey, not for us. They weren't built for us. You are going to experience barriers that are completely overwhelming or impossible for you to move through. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's the world that was built before we even got here. Traits characteristic of ADHD or autism spectrum disorder. And side note, there's a lot of studies that are showing that neurodivergence is becoming a larger umbrella rather than specific to just ADHD, just autism, just this, just that. A lot of times we're seeing, oh, you might have a little blend. Like ADHD is something that's a fairly new term because they're realizing, oh, there's some overlap in these things that we tried to silo before. So I would not be surprised if the more studies are done, the more science advances, they realize neurodivergent is the whole of it. Rather than, oh, you're just this label or you're just this label. For example, traits characteristic of ADHD and ASD folks can either be advantageous or disadvantageous depending on the context. We need to focus on finding and remedying the aspects of the environment which are disabling for the individual, rather than othering them, pushing them to the side, and saying, oh, they can't do the thing that we're asking them to do. See ya. No, like if you would just, I don't know, give me a quiet room to work in, I would excel far beyond any of your other employees. But you can't do that. So I'm the weirdo, I guess. For me today, like I said, the plan was from 11 to 8, built around a neurotypical friendly flow. Start my tasks, focus, move through. But the moment my brain got excited about the keyboard arriving, that system crashed. It crashed. Everything, nothing mattered. I was sitting having brunch with my family, opening my phone. I was like, oh my gosh, it's almost here. It's almost here. I don't know how many stops away it is, but it's almost here. I was like, oh no. And my husband looked at me like, yeah, your workday is going to look a little different today because I've seen this before. It didn't mean I was lazy. It didn't mean I was a bad person for neglecting my work. It meant my brain rewired and the trigger happened and I needed a different flow to my day. I can work a little later. I can lay down for a second and reset and wake up and have a new start to the day. That's a neurodivergent trick I've learned. And it's okay. So that acceptance is radical. It's radical. It's something that isn't widely accepted, especially in a hyper-individualistic, hyper-capitalistic environment where productivity is our worth. That's a lie. You do not have to live like that. You do not have to accept that for yourself. And I owe so much of the permission that I give myself to Indigenous wisdom. I've worked in leadership and development spaces that integrate Indigenous wisdom. I have worked on behalf of Indigenous folks, and that is where a real shift happened for me. I saw how they treated members of their community, members of their tribe, who in typical white culture would be othered, pushed to the side. Ooh, that's different. Don't like that. In Indigenous spaces, they were honored. It's nothing to fix. It's nothing to view as inconvenient. It's something to appreciate. The differences, the contribution to the community. Sameness only breeds sameness. It doesn't breed innovation. It doesn't lead to progress. It doesn't lead to interesting things. Differences are what makes us interesting. And it's rich. It's knowledgeable when you have people who are different around you. So in Māori culture, they have introduced the word Takiwātanga, meaning my or his or her own time and space, to describe autism and any type of neurodivergent behavior, disposition. So in his own time and space creates a calm, non-judgmental frame. A person is allowed to be themselves in their rhythm. That's the expectation, is if someone looks at a neurodivergent person sideways in Māori culture, they'll say, no, Takiwātanga. Leave them alone. They're going to go in their own time, in their own space, and it reframes executive dysfunction or being off schedule, not as a failure, but as a difference in timing and processing. Just different. And that was huge for me. I had never heard that before. It was never okay to be off schedule. It was never okay to get to work later. It was never okay to move a project from morning to afternoon. It was never okay to cancel a meeting and have it the next day. That was unacceptable behavior. You're not going to be successful that way. You don't look professional that way. That's trash. That's garbage. Yes, we want to be respectful of other people's time. Yes, we want to make sure that we're honoring others in our collaboration with them. And if someone has a brain that functions differently, honor it, respect it, don't take it personally. Please don't take it personally. For the leaders, for the managers, for the bosses, it is not a personal offense if someone that you are responsible for is late, is quiet, doesn't perform like you think they should, asks for accommodation. Hey, maybe ask, are you okay? Maybe ask, hey, I'll see if we can just do low light because you get migraines. I can see if you can wear your headphones. Actually, go ahead, wear your headphones. Let's try that out for a couple weeks. What is the harm in that? Like, you have to be secure enough as a leader. You have to have the confidence in your own position and your own influence to be able to stand up for people on your team and be able to communicate to your higher ups or your colleagues. They are still getting the work done that I need. It just looks a little different. And if your leadership is not giving you that, do it for yourself. Find somewhere else. Demand respect for the way your brain functions. You can't change that. You can't change it. Stop being so hard on yourself. So when you understand that difference can be honored rather than othered, you shift from self-criticism to self-kindness. And I know we need it. We all need it. Sometimes you are going to be the only person in your life that is kind to you. Okay? When I discovered that there are entire cultures of people who honor differences, I asked myself, what if neurodivergent brains aren't wrong? What if they are just tuned differently? And that question changed who I am. And today, years later, it changed how I treated myself and how I'm speaking to you today. When my brain froze, the email came. I got excited. Oh my gosh, the keyboard's coming. And I look at my day. Oh my gosh, I have so much work to do. The keyboard's coming. Work to do. Okay. That little neuro spark crashed my system. And I was able to name it. I was like, okay, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I see it. I feel it. I'm not going to be able to move past it and be productive right now in this moment. And being able to name that reduced shame. I was able to renegotiate with myself my plan. So instead of a rigid 11 to 8, I was able to shift it and I accepted the new shape of my day. And I honored my timing. Takiwātanga, in my own time. Permission. Knowing I have ADHD is a strength. I didn't push myself too hard. I was gentle with little Sarah, who has had ADHD since the beginning. That's relational intelligence. That's self-leadership. Because if you cannot be good to yourself, good luck being good to anyone else consistently. Talk to yourself kindly. You can hear you. So if sometimes your brain just malfunctions, you're not broken, you're human. And this is for my neurotypicals and my neurodivergence. Okay? Knowing how your brain works, again, neurodivergent or neurotypical, it's like having cheat codes to your own life. And being good to yourself when you have a moment, that is executive function in action. So yeah, my day got derailed. But because I know myself, I was able to lead myself. I recognized the rhythm of my brain. I didn't spiral. I pivoted. Because it's okay. I'm beautifully made. I'm wonderfully made. There's nothing wrong with how my brain works. You guys want to see the keyboard? You see it? Bun Wonderland. Or as I call it, Bunderland. This would even, I feel like, would throw some of you neurotypicals a wrench in your plans, because look how cute it is. Everything is bread. Oh my gosh. Get you one. I'm so glad that I was able to spend a little time with you today. And if you think this is something that someone needs to hear, if you thought of somebody during this, send it to them, share it with them. Because I don't know about you, but I do not hear very often, you have permission to be yourself. That's not something that I hear from an outsider very, very much. That's something I tell myself often. So if I could be the one to tell your friend, your family, your coworker, bring it on. I would love to. Hope you have an awesome day and tune in next week.